أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to another session on Quran Made Easy. I hope you had fun memorizing the Muslim charts. In the last session, we went over the sound masculine plural or the regular masculine plural, and we ended it with the two charts of the masculine version, which is, I'll just show you, which is this one. And then we also covered the feminine version for the first time. Today's session will focus mainly on the feminine regular plurals. We'll dedicate the whole session to that, and that will be your lesson 7 handouts. And then towards the end of the lesson, we'll go over an ayah. In Surah Al-Ahzab, it's the ayah that I just recited. Even if you're not familiar with it, you would have noticed a pattern in that ayah. Even if you heard that for the first time, you notice a pattern. And we'll be applying the masculine and the feminine plurals to that ayah. So let's begin. Usually I start my lessons with brief consolidated notes, and we start from scratch on a clean sheet of paper. Today we're going to start from the Muslim chart alone. We're going to use that as the basis for our consolidated notes. And the reason is that this chart alone kind of incorporates most of the concepts that we've learned so far anyway. Sorry. Yeah, so it kind of consolidates most of the concepts that we've learned thus far. So let's start with that. So this is the Muslim masculine chart. So first of all, this is an ism. Fi'l, we've covered briefly that it's a word that's stuck in the past, present, or future tense. Harf is a word that makes no sense unless there's another word after it. So now ism covers the person, place, thing, idea, adjectives, adverbs, and more. And Muslim, the word Muslim is an ism because it's pretty much a person. It's not the actual name of a person, but it's a type of person. So therefore, it's an ism. And we learned that there's 4 components in ism. Status. Now, all of this chart covers most of these components that we've learned so far. Status is made up of 3. Rafa, which is the doer. Nasb, which is the detail. And jar, we've defined as after of. The doer of the sentence is, for example, in English sentence is Hassan ate lunch yesterday. So the action word is ate. Who's doing the eating? Hassan. But we learnt in Arabic there we have to distinguish the ending sounds or ending combinations in order to recognize what status it is. So if we look at Muslimun, it has an un ending, therefore it's a singular. And now we're going on to the second component, which is number. Singular means 1, so Muslimun is 1 in number, and because it's an un sound, it's also rafa in status, as the table shows. And then we got the un sound, which is nasab in status, which is the detail, and the in sound is the jar. This should all be second nature now. That's the ending sound. So we'll put es here. And we got the dual pairs. So we also learned something called ending combinations, EC. And there's 2 types. One is the pair, and one is the plural. The pair has an ending combination of ani for rafa. So I'll just circle it here. Aini for nasab and aini for jar. Muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini. The ani sound is rafa, as the table shows. And aini sound is the detail, which is nasab. And aini could be jar as well. And then in the last lesson, we did the second part of the ending combinations, which is una. Una for rafa, ina for nasab, ina for jar. And I said in the last lesson, I could have just given you this chart in lesson 1 and just said, memorize it and come back to me and we'll go further. But what we wanted to do is really educate you on the function of each status and the number and how they come about and how they really work. And once you know that, for you to memorize it becomes really easy. It's not really seen as like a tedious exercise anymore because you already know it anyway. But it's good to consolidate it all and just say it a number of times so that it really it's just solidified into our memories. So let's go for it a couple of times before we move on. Let's start from the beginning here. Muslimun, muslimun, musliman, muslimin. That's your rafa, nasab, jar 1. Muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini. That's your rafa, nasab, jar dual or pair. Muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. That's your plural, rafa, nasab, and jar. And we also went through a process, a very important process, when we come across an ism or a word and you try to analyze the status and number, then we always look at an ending combination first. So you try to look at the word, you look at the ending combination to see if it's a pair. If it's not a pair, is it a plural? If it is one of those things, then you go with that as your number. And rafa, nasab, jar. And if it's not one of those things, then it's an ending sound. And an ending sound could either be singular or we learnt it could be a broken plural. And there's no way of knowing that it's a broken plural unless you know the meaning. So you'd have to know the meaning and then you can decide if it's a broken plural or not. And if it's not a plural, then you know it's a singular. So by process of elimination, that's how you're analyzing the ism words. Okay, so this is the feminine version of the chart. Because we're dedicating the whole session today to the feminine plural, I'll just go straight to the lesson 7 handouts. So if you go on the lesson 7 handouts, let me take it from here. So the objective of today is to learn the Muslim chart feminine, which I introduced to you in the last session. And then we're going to apply both the masculine and the feminine to the ayah that I recited in the beginning. So sound feminine plurals. We actually went over this in the last lesson as well. An ism ending with a ta marbuta, that's the small ta with 2 dots on there. It usually means that the word is feminine. Usually, yeah, not all the time. So for example, muslimatun equals muslimah, because if you have a small ta, you can also pronounce it as a ha. The feminine dual is made by replacing the ta with the ta plus ani or aini. So what that means is muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini. Instead of muslimani, muslimaini, muslimaini, which is the masculine, it's muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini. So we just write, just so that it's clear, dani, daini, daini. The feminine plural is made by adding the ending combination atun and atin. Muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. Whereas with the masculine one, it was muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. So that's really the disconnect in those two charts. Really, if you look at the patterns of the masculine and feminine charts, they kind of follow each other. You just put a down on the feminine one, the small the down one will out, but with the feminine plural, there's no similarity between the feminine plural and the masculine plural. You just got to know it. So the masculine plural is muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. The feminine regular plural is muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. Rafa nasab jar. Okay, so let's do some practice straight away. So we know the Muslim, this is the Muslimatun chart actually. So let's practice this. Muslimatun is your feminine singular. The masculine version is Muslimun. Muslimatan is your feminine Muslim, Muslimas, singular nasab. Muslimatin is jar. So let's say those three together. Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin. Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin. That's your rafa nasab jar, female, one Muslim. Now look on the feminine dual. So two Muslim females. Rafa nasab jar. Muslimatani, Muslimataini, Muslimataini. Muslimatani, Muslimataini, Muslimataini. Let's do it from the top. Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin. Rafa nasab jar 1. Muslimatani, Muslimataini, Muslimataini. That's your rafa nasab jar 2. Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin. Feminine plural, rafa nasab jar. Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin. Let's say the whole chart together once. Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin. Rafa nasab jar 1 feminine. Muslimatani, Muslimataini, Muslimataini. Rafa nasab jar 2 Muslims feminine. Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin. Plural, so more than 3 Muslim females. Rafa nasab and jar. Now we're going to apply another word to that table. So we're going to replace the word Muslimatun with something else, and you're going to follow the same pattern. It says complete the following charts by writing the Arabic word. If you can't write the Arabic, just write it as an English transliteration. So what is this word? Dhakiratun. Dhakiratun. Let's think about this. What was the Muslim chart female? It was Muslimatun. So we're replacing Muslimatun with Dhakiratun. So if Dhakiratun is the Rafa version, what do you think is the Nasab version? We know this is ending sounds. We know ending sounds is, if we ignore the broken plural for now, but if we just follow the singular ending sound, it's Runa G. So un, an, or in, or u, a, u, e. So un is Rafa, Dhakiratun. Nasab will be Dhakiratan. So you can write that down. And then jar will be, it will be the in sound. So Dhakiratin. Dhakiratin. So that's your Rafa, Nasab, and jar. And it's 1 in number because it's singular. Now, what's the dual version or the pair? Let's think back to the Muslimatun chart. Muslima, Muslimatun, Muslimatan, Muslimatin. That's 1. What's the ending for feminine dual? It's tani. Muslimatani, Muslimataini, Muslimataini. Dhakira, tani. Dhakira, tani. That's your Rafa version of Dhakiratun. Dhakiratani is your Rafa feminine dual. The Nasab feminine dual or pair of this is Dhakira Taini because it has a Taini ending. Yeah? First one has Tani, second one has Taini, and the jar is also Taini. So Dhakiratani, Dhakirataini, Dhakirataini. And then finally, your plural, what's the ending combination for a plural? It's Atun, Muslimatun, Muslimatin, Muslimatin. Now apply it to this word. Dhakiratun, Dhakiratin, Dhakiratin. Atun ending, Atin ending, Atin ending. So let's say it all together from the top. Dhakiratun, Dhakiratan, Dhakiratin. That's your rafa' nasab jar 1. ذاكرتان ذاكرتين ذاكرتين. That's your rafa' nasab jar 2. ذاكرات ذاكرات ذاكرات. That's your rafa' nasab jar 3 or more. Let's try another one. صالحة صالحة. What would be the nasab of that? صالحة. Why? Because it has an un sound. What would be the jar version of that? Un and in. So it would be صالحة. Pair version, صالحتان is the rafa'. Why? Because it has tani ending. What would be the nasab version? صالحتين. Jar, same, صالحتين. And then feminine plural of that same word. Plural feminine has a atun, atin, atin ending. So therefore, صالحاتun, صالحاتٍ, صالحاتٍ. Let's say it from the top. صالحة, صالحة, صالحة. That's your rafa' nasab jar 1. صالحتان, صالحتين, صالحتين. Rafa' nasab jar 2. 2 feminine. صالحات, صالحات, صالحات. Rafa' nasab jar 3 feminine. Let's try and flex it. Let's say if it was masculine, what would it be? What would it be? Well, we know the ta marbuta here makes it feminine, as is usually the case. So the masculine version wouldn't have that. So what would be the Muslim version of this? It would be muslimatun. We know muslimatun is the one feminine version, rafa'. So muslimun is the masculine version. So if salihatun is the feminine version of the rafa', then the masculine version will be salihun. You would just take the ta off. It will be salihun. And thereafter it will be salihan for nasab and salihin for jar. Salihun, salihan, salihin. What makes the feminine dual? It's the tani combination, right? What was the masculine version of that? It's ani. The ta is not there in the masculine version. So what would it be for this word? Well, if muslimatani is the feminine dual, and muslimani is the masculine dual, and salihatani is the feminine dual, then the masculine dual will be salihani. Salihani. Nasab will be salihaini. Remove the ta. And jar will be salihaini also. So atun, atin, atin ending for feminine plural. If you remember the masculine plural, it was una, ina, ina. So it would be muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina. Salihuna would be the masculine. Salihina, salihina. I hope that's clear. So we looked at the feminine and then we stress tested it and applied the masculine version to that chart. Let's look at another example. Mu'minatun. Mu'minatun. This should be straightforward because it sounds, quite familiar with muslimatun. So instead of muslimatun, it's mu'minatun. Nasab is mu'minatan. Jar is mu'minatin. Mu'minatun, mu'minatan, mu'minatin. What's the Muslim feminine dual? Muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini. Therefore, the mu'min version will be mu'minatani because of the tani ending combination. Mu'minataini, mu'minataini. That's your rafa' nasab and jar. And then we looked at the feminine plural Muslim, which is muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin, atun, atin, atin, mu'minatun, rafa' plural feminine, mu'minatin, nasab plural feminine, mu'minatin, jar plural feminine. Okay, now we can move on to the ayah. So this should be on your handouts as well. Masculine and feminine plurals in the Qur'an. So I recited at the beginning Surah Al-Ahzab, Surah 33, verse 35. It's a really beautiful ayah. We've broken it down here, and clearly we can see a pattern coming here. And what it entails, it's the masculine plural and the feminine plural side by side. And you can see the contrast. And it's a really nice ayah to practice your masculine and feminine regular plurals. So it'd be good if you can memorize it as well. So innal muslimina, inna means indeed or certainly. Al muslimina wal muslimati, the Muslim men and Muslim women. What version do you think that is? So we know it's a plural, yeah? Muslimina. So let's start from the beginning. Muslimun, on the masculine chart this is. Muslimun, Musliman, Muslimin. That's your one rafa' nasab jar, Muslim. Muslimani, Muslimaini, Muslimaini. That's your two rafa' nasab jar, Muslim. Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimina. So what status do you think it is? From now, you know it's nasab or jar because it's not Muslimina. Sorry, it's not Muslimuna, which would have been rafa'. So it's nasab or jar. How do you distinguish between that? Well, I said you look for context clues, and you're not advanced enough to know that yet, but at this stage I am, so I can tell you that it's not a jar. So we just put a mark through jar. So what you've learned up until now, you can come to this conclusion that it could be nasab or jar, and then with myself looking at the context, I can tell you that it's definitely not a jar. We can say it's a nasab. So al-muslimina, but you definitely know it's not a rafa'. Wal-muslimati, wal-muslimati. What gender do you think that is? First of all, we know muslimina is masculine. We know it's nasab, and we know it's a plural. Wal-muslimati. Let's go through the feminine chart. Muslimatun, muslimatan, muslimatin. Muslimatani, muslimataini, muslimataini, muslimatun, muslimatin, muslimatin. Now I know this has an E at the end. So this is the same word, muslimatin, but without the tanween. It's just an E, but it's the same concept. It's still an atin or ati ending. That's fine. And that is a feminine in gender. I can tell you it's a nasab, but you should be able to tell it's either nasab or jar. But let's cross out jar. And it's a plural. So that's a nice little contrast. Innal muslimina, that's your masculine plural nasab. Wal muslimati, feminine nasab plural as well. Next one, wal mu'minina wal mu'minati. Same concept. This doesn't have the ta, this one has the ta. So the one without the ta, you know it's a masculine because it's your Muslim chart. Muslimuna, muslimina, muslimina, mu'minuna, mu'minina, mu'minina. So it's masculine in gender. In status, it's nasab or jar, but I can tell you it's nasab, and it's a plural because it's not an ending sound. The mistake you can make is look at the sound and you think, oh, it's an ending sound, therefore it's a singular. That's not true. You have to look at the combination first, and we went over that process. I emphasized that process so many times in the last couple of sessions. So the ina ending makes it a plural. Therefore, it's a masculine nasab plural. Wal mu'minati. The thing that should be striking to you straight away is the ati ending. Ati ending is a feminine plural. Ati or atin. So wal mu'minati. It's the same as, it says nasab jar. So it's the same as that one. Next one. Wal qanitina wal qanitati. So the second one means the believing men and believing women. The obedient men and obedient women. Wal qanitina wal qanitati wal qanitati. Now both of them have the ta in, but this one is still masculine because it's not dani, daini. It's dina. And there's no such thing as muslimatina or muslimatuna. So you only look at the last two letters in this one. But in the feminine one, it's ati, or yeah, it's the ati ending. So therefore that's a plural. So this is, again, same concept, masculine, nasab or jar, but I can tell you it's nasab. And it's a plural because it has a ina ending. Una, ina is always a masculine plural. Atun, atin, or atu, ati is a feminine plural. The true for men and the true for women. Was-sadiqina was-sadiqati. Which one's the masculine, which one's the feminine? Well, we know ati got the ta in, the big ta in, so therefore, for the plural, that's the feminine. And this one's una, ina. There's no familiarity with una, ina in the feminine chart, so you know it's masculine. So once again, it's the same analysis as the above. The above masculine could be nasab or jar, but I can tell you it's nasab and it's a plural. And the same with this one, it's a nasab and a plural and feminine. So you begin to see the pattern here. There's a contrast between masculine nasab plural and a feminine nasab plural. And one by one, Allah's listing them out in the ayah. Innal muslimina wal muslimati wal mu'minina wal mu'minati wal qanitina, your masculine, wal qanitati, your feminine, wal sadiqina, your masculine, wal sadiqati, feminine plural. Next one, was sabirina was sabirati. Once again, the masculine and the feminine. Which one's the masculine? Ina ending. Which one's the feminine? Ati ending. The patient men and patient women. Masculine, nasab, plural. And this one, feminine, nasab, plural. And then I think the next slide we'll do in the next session. So we'll leave it there. So I hope that the ayah or the concept of the ayah is really clear. Try and memorize it. It's fairly easy to memorize the ayah. It's it's Surah 33, verse 35, Surah Al-Ahzab. It's a really beautiful ayah. Try and memorize it and maybe use that as your dictionary for masculine plural regular and the feminine regular plural as well. So until next time, we'll leave it there, and then we'll go over the last slide of this handout, and then we've got one more lesson to do in terms of handouts, and that's going to cover another part of status, which is called heavy and light. Fairly simple concept that. And then on the last session, we'll cover every single concept that we've done so far and make some brief consolidated notes on that. And then we'll leave it there. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim. ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم.